For those of you that don't know me, I'm Anwar Ahmad. I am with the Federal Highway Administration. My current position, I'm the Resource Center Structures Technical Services Team Manager. Been in this position for about a year. Prior to that, I was the Bridge Preservation Engineer with Federal Highway for about 5 years. And now I'd like to introduce my replacement, Mr. Raj Aliani. He's here. Stand up, Raj. Say hello to everyone. This is Raj's first meeting here. This is amazing. I've started with this group back in 2010 when we started the Southeast. It was really the first partnership, and I had the privilege to serve as the chair. I was with Virginia at the time. And we had the first meeting in Orlando. And how many people, you guys remember how many people we had back then?
78.
78.
And we had 9, I think we had 9 vendors.
Yeah. Nine vendors in 78. And look at today is over 200 people. And how many vendors? 40. That's amazing. So I'm just sitting, the last couple of days I've been sitting here and just listening, and it just, just with a big smile on my face and just seeing how all the progress that you guys have accomplished over the last few years is just amazing. And it's a true partnership between industry, academia, and the states and Federal Highway. So I commend you on all the progress. So they've asked me to do, I don't know what he asked me to do, Ed, is just get up here and talk. So I just, he said some kind of recap. So I took some notes and I try to capture them in here. So this is what I heard the first day is some of the challenges. And I think Hala from Federal Highway mentioned, and she said something about 4 things I remember jotting down is we need to ensure high quality inspection inventory data. And as most of you, everything that we do, really, we rely on the quality of that data. Without having that good data, we're going to be making inaccurate or bad decisions. The second thing I heard is we need to quantify the benefits of preservation. And listening to the discussions and roundtable discussions and peer exchanges, I think that came up surface to the top. And that certainly has been something that we've been talking a lot about last few years, and we're really counting on the long-term Bridge Performance Program is to help us with quantifying that. The knowledge gaps, we need to continue with our education to the various folks, not only the practitioners, but the public and industry and our bosses, the decision makers. And making the case for preservation. We talked about, a lot of times we sit here and we preach to the choir or preach to ourselves, but really we need to tell a story to our decision makers and the public. So these are the challenges, and it seems like you guys, everything that you've done was really working towards meeting these challenges. So I listened to the discussions from we had 17 tables yesterday, 17 groups talking about and discussing and coming up with some ideas. And I'd looked at their notes and tried to put them into groups, and I think I was able to put them in maybe 5 different groups. So one of them was some research ideas, and those may or may not have been captured in the research peer exchanges that John and others did earlier today. So one of them that came up to the top is quantifying the benefits of maintenance activities. I think Andy's group were talking about this. I used to preach about how important it is to wash our bridges. And now we're getting to the point where we're questioning that. Or we're saying, we need to make, is this the right thing? And I think intuitively, I think I know it's a good thing, but I really can't quantify to tell you if I do that, how many years am I adding to the structure? I just don't know that. But I think we have enough smart people here. Where's Ted? And our academia friends, they should be able to help us with doing that. And that's a tough sell when you talk to your decision makers, because everyone thinks about improving the condition. And the story we need to tell is most of the activities that we do may not really lead to improving the condition. It's just about maintaining the condition. I've heard, I think that came from Mike, Arkansas, escalation curve. I don't know, that was in the notes. I struggled. The escalation curve, I think is, you wanted some,
How much faster does it move along the curve?
okay. So some deterioration curves based on increased use of de-icing chemicals on bridges. The other thing was evaluating durability of various deck joint types in various environments. Another idea was, and that was pretty interesting topic. I was in that group talking about drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, and use them for inspections. And perhaps we can do some non-destructive evaluations and maybe use them for inspection of culverts and other ancillary structures. So seems to me like there's a lot of opportunities for us in that area. Some states have moved in that direction. I think Washington, during TRB, they came and did a really great presentation. They have a pilot, and they have used it for inspecting several of their bridges. The thing is just trying to work through the obstacles, with the FAA rules and getting all these things worked out. But certainly, this is an area that we should be looking into and taking advantage of. Investigate and this is, I threw that in there. How many of you is familiar with ultra high performance concrete by show of hands? Oh, very good. So I don't need to talk a lot about the UHPC. Right now, UHPC is one of the federal highway initiatives under the Everyday Counts. And we are trying to deploy that technology for using it on prefabricated bridge elements. So for connection of prefabricated bridge elements, deck panels or connecting of other elements of the bridge. And it's just because it's a new material, has a lot of really good qualities, but the cost is on the high side. So we're getting into using it and to applying it to very specifically to prefabricated bridge elements. But internationally in Europe, they're using it for deck overlays. So I think this is something we should, and I don't think anybody's just going to jump on doing that, but I think it's worth investigating that to see a feasibility of using it as a deck overlay. Collecting, and I've heard a lot of discussions about sharing best practices. And you guys certainly have done that during this conference. There's a lot of very good exchanges. And I hope that you all have taken some notes and built those relationships and contact numbers that you feel comfortable by picking up the phone and calling your colleague from different states and asking questions and sharing information. There's a lot of information available on TSP2 website. One of the things that Ed and we worked on is that exchange function. And that was really the intent, is so you can share your best practices. And I think, Ed, you have that function right now on TSP2. It's just we haven't really put it to use at this point. Is that correct? Yeah. So, but that's definitely was, there's always room to improve on that side of collecting and sharing good information and practices. The other thing is, again, that's another category, talking about sharing, collaborating and sharing knowledge and information. There's a lot of interest and needs from the states is to share manuals and policies and practices. Some example, take what works in Texas and share it with other states. I don't know if, I know we have the means that we can do that through the TSP2, but again, there's no one stopping you from, when I used to go to these conferences when I was with Virginia DOT, that's what I thrived on, is just going and talking to my counterparts with other states and how are you doing this? What are your manuals? What are your policies? And always go back to my state with something that I would feel passionate about changing or improving on practices. Get contractors involved in discussions on what's working, what's not working. And certainly by having the contractors here and the vendors, that's a huge success. And I think we need to take advantage of that and get them involved in these discussions. One thing we keep talking about this, but we have not had much success, is about bringing the local agencies on board. I think this was, in my view, I love that we have 200 plus people here during this meeting, but I think it was a missed opportunity for us not to reach out to local agencies in the surrounding counties and to this area and invite them. We have done that, I think, in the Midwest, but they need to have a voice. They need to be part of this partnership. Raj tells me he's going to fix that. There's an opportunity we've talked about regional specifications and policies and things of that nature. So here's an opportunity for us to develop something along these lines. The other category that I've listened to the groups is strategies and needs for strategies and guidance. There's some need for how do we do planned maintenance, scheduled maintenance. There's been a lot of information out there, but maybe we need to take it to the next level and continue educating and sharing best practices in this area. Identify needs early on and fix them before they get bad. I mean, I think that's the message from day one, is we want to be proactive, do things get to the bridge, keep the bridge in good condition before they get to a deteriorated condition where you need to replace them. Encourage cyclic routine maintenance, making the case for additional funding. I like that last one. So where's Todd? Todd, I heard Todd said he was complaining that his budget is $200 million for maintenance. So that's good. He's staying on it, but it takes a lot of effort. When I was in your shoes back in the day, the budget was in the $60 million for years. In the 90s, it was all $60, $65 million. And then that was because it was historical based. And then we started looking at the data, and start educating and advocating. We moved to the needs-based budget. And we got a bump. We went up to 100 in the hundreds and 129. When I left, it was 179. So I'm glad to hear that you're ramping up to the 200. So it's not like if you just sit where you are, and that nobody's going to come in and say, hey, let me give you more money. So you have to demonstrate. So you have to tell the story, and there are ways that we can tell the story. There is one. NCHRP project, Jeff, you need to help me with this, the Communicating the Benefit of Preservation. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that. Look it up on TRB website and get that report. Jeff is probably going to give you the number here in a minute. But that really shows you some specific strategies, how to make the case, how to tell the story, how to communicate with your decision makers, you're educating the public, and so on.
It's report number 742. You can obtain it from the TRB website.
If you didn't hear Jeff, it's report number 742. And also what we have done, we've taken that and put it into a mini course, a web-based training course with NHI. If you go on NHI website and look for bridge preservation training, you'll find a training series, the three of them. One of them is how to bridge preservation fundamentals, how to develop a bridge preservation program. And the third one is, which is based on this report, 742, is how to communicate the benefits of bridge preservation. It's like $25. But it's that's what we need to do, is continue telling our story to the public, to the legislators, so your budget can grow. The other category was contracts, methods, and means. There was a really good discussion about develop quality assurance and guidance, certification perhaps, and qualification for inspectors, contractor personnel. And it was interesting, I heard someone mention about you need to also have some kind of qualifications for your manufacturer representative. Most of us take it for granted. You know, you put it in the contract and you say, well, the manufacturer representative is there, so I'm hands off, I'm in good hands. But, and then you come back and the product is, you know, is not 100%. So there's always room for improvement, and that takes education. It takes all of us to continue reaching out to not only our inspectors, but really educating our contractors and everyone else involved. One of the things that we keep missing the target, I think we have a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of training for our inspectors, but we're missing the target, I think, with our contractors industry. We've attempted, I think Jeff helped me put, and others, we developed short web-based training, and we put them on SSPC. And the reason was, and it was all about bridge preservation. It was one about coating, one about deck sealing and waterproofing, and one was about, I'm forgetting now. It was a few years ago. But that was the target audience was the contractors. So, but that's just a drop in the bucket. So we really need to focus on develop training, engaging the contract industry to educate, because those are the guys that putting the product on your bridges. So we spend a lot of time developing plans, specifications, put contracts together and get the money. You're fighting for the money. And it really all boils down to that person installing that treatment on the bridge. So if it's not done right, all of that is wasted. Developing performance-based specifications. I think there's looking for warranty and how do we get that into our contracts. And the other category I captured was product acceptance and innovation. This topic has been out there for a long time, and we all see that that's a huge challenge. Number one is I keep hearing from the vendors that why do I have to go to 50 states to get my product approved? It just doesn't make sense. And I agree. I think we need to do better. We need to be able to have national or maybe regional acceptance processes. And certainly with the Bridge Preservation Expert Task Group, we've been really struggling with that, and we have done some work, but there's a lot of work to be done. And innovation, we need to embrace innovation. And looking at the vendors out there, it doesn't seem to me like there's a shortage of innovation when it comes to preservation. But what we need to do is just to make it easier. A lot of times it's just we're our worst enemies. We put a lot of barriers, and so we need to work through these barriers and make sure that we're embracing innovation. The last category was training. I've talked a little bit about training, and it's not really about just our inspectors and our state forces, but certainly the contract industry. We need the contractors. We need to reach out to them and make sure that we provide them with the needed trainings. And there was one idea, I don't know which team mentioned that. We saw the presentation from Dick Dunn yesterday about the Bridge Preservation Product Database, and I think it's a wonderful idea. There's been a lot of work has been done up to this point. We started with the Midwest partnership, and then the Northeast, and now the Western partnership, with the idea of developing a bridge preservation decision matrix, and where you can, here are the problems, and here are the potential solutions, and here are the products. So then this idea was really born from there, and then you have that national group that was put together, and now they're leaning towards the database. But yesterday what I heard was the database was all about products. And I think we'll have a missed opportunity if we do not link that decision matrix to it. So the user can go in there and look at, here's my bridge, here's the problem, and here's the quantities that I'm looking at. So where should I be looking? Should I be looking at sealing or overlays or whatever the case may be? And then give me a product list and give me maybe some ranking, or maybe tell me what states have used these products so I can pick up the phone and talk to them and see what I could, which way I'm going to go with that. So that's really what I've listened to the last couple of days. At this point, I'd like, open it for questions, general comments, things that you would like to see. I think the intent is to take this and to develop maybe some working groups that would focus on some of these ideas. And I would assume that, where's Andy? Andy, are you retiring at the end of this meeting? Okay, but you can't walk away just that easy. You have, I think you should look at putting these groups together, have your work plan ready for the next chair to take over. That's one thing we pushed for from the beginning, was really with these regional partnerships. Let's have products, let's have deliverables. Unlike other groups, if you just go there for just the sake of the meeting and sit there and have a nice time and complain about things and you walk away with nothing, maybe the interaction is always great. But what makes it valuable, I think the reason for the success of this partnership and others is these groups that you guys are working on common issues and finding solutions and solving these issues. So that's all I have. I think I'm within my time,
Yeah,
right?
we got time.
Chris?
We got time for
Okay.
questions.
So any questions, anything?
Questions?
If you have something bad to say about me, just wait until I leave.
Albert, I like your national QTL. How would we start that? That's very important for all of us. English speakers.
So what I hear is you have a volunteer for a working group. All right. We have to start somewhere. You're right. I don't know the answer to that. We have laid out strategy how we would go about that. Is engaging. Right now we have the material guys on one side, we have the design guys on one side, we have the maintenance guys on one side. I'm talking about the AASHTO. And so we're trying to bring in these guys together, so trying to solve that problem.
Anything else? If not, I'll turn it over to Andy for the business part of the meeting.
All right.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, guys.